Hey, baby, it's time for the Nikki Alpert Podcast. Come on, pull up a chair. We gonna have some fun.
Ashlee's 22 years old, just graduated college. So when a friend called her, she decided to pack her stuff, drive to Oregon, and go fight fires. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Of course, let's do it. Where do you want to start? There's so much to be said.
Well, okay, so we can either start when the phone call came, unless you had a conversation with this person before about like the desire to do that. Did you?
You know, I didn't, but I think it's important for me to mention that the person who invited me was my coworker who I had only known for about 3 weeks beforehand. So he didn't know a lot about me and I didn't know a lot about him, but there was a brief mention at work while we were both doing our shift, doing our thing. There was a fire truck that came into the parking lot, and I guess we had a conversation just briefly, as two people who are new people who are working together and trying to get to know one another, just a brief conversation about how cool it would be to be a firefighter instead of doing what we're doing right now. And then that was the beginning and end of it. And then a couple weeks later, we were both laid off from work. And then he was in Oregon with this opportunity and decided to invite me up. And it was just a crazy experience. But I feel like I should put it into context a little bit more.
Please.
Because, okay. So
I got to tell you, I have seen plenty of
yeah.
fire trucks. I've been saved by the paramedics. I've been grateful for what they do and said that what they do is amazing. But if your friend had called me and been like, hey, want to come fight fires? I'd be like, no. I mean, I wish I could, but no.
Yeah, I can't believe I did it either. Sometimes I tell people and it just doesn't seem real. Sitting back here at home with my family, having dinner with them, the same thing I was doing right before I left, it feels like I almost never went and it was just a dream. But
that's interesting.
There was a lot of factors that I think led to my decision to make that big move.
Yeah, huge move.
Yeah, huge move. And the situation that I was in at the time, because I had just graduated from college, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated in May.
Poli-sci major?
Poli-sci, yes. A political science major. I loved my major. I loved what I was studying. I loved the work around it, and I was super excited and eager to go to law school. And that's something that I decided on earlier on in my undergraduate career, for a number of reasons. Some of them may not have been influenced completely by me, but overall, I was committed to this path, and I had decided on it, and I was doing the thing. So I was going. But before I graduated, before I had my virtual graduation in May, I decided that I was going to take a year off between when I graduated and when I actually started grad school.
Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Just so I could completely focus on studying and, saving a little bit more money and just really making sure that this was what I wanted to do, because it was going to be a big financial as well as a time commitment. It was a big commitment going to law school.
Yeah. And I hear that test is enough to make you crazy. Forget school.
It was, that me being in the thick of taking that test also was a thing that influenced my decision. I think just
to get up and leave.
To get up and leave was, I'm not going to say wasn't a factor, but, and then I got this call from my coworker. It wasn't even a call. It was a Instagram DM from my coworker, because I truly didn't even know him that well.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly. He didn't even have my number. He just DM'd me, and he said that him and his brother, they're in Oregon right now because they got this opportunity, this invitation to go train and become a wildland firefighter and work in Oregon for the summer. And he said, you should come. You should be here. He wasn't even asking me if I should come. He said it in a way where he knew that I should be here. Because even though we'd known each other for a short amount of time, we really connected. He became he's now one of my I consider one of my closest friends. And
I would imagine you guys have been through a whole lot together.
We were
fighting fires.
Exactly. We went through a whole lot, but we were also both at a similar place in our lives when he got the call and when we got introduced to one another, because we both had just graduated college. We were both newly single, and we both were thinking about grad school, but like we're a little bit unsure about.
So you were on the deciding factor, both.
Yeah. We were in the like deciding factor, and we were both on leave from work. So he knew that
you had free time.
Exactly.
Okay, so wait. So you get the DM, and you said it sounds like he was telling you what you should do, and because you were so connected, you were like, he must be right. I'm gonna go. Did you just pack your shit and go? What'd you do?
I sat
because you
with
left
myself.
that day, right?
Exactly. I left an hour after he told me, and I left quickly because I knew that if I didn't, then I would just have talked myself out of it.
You changed.
I knew I just would have changed my mind. I would have thought of any excuse to not go or any reason why I shouldn't, because there was.
I can't tell you what's happening with the chills on my body. Like the idea that like somebody says, come fight fires, and there's a piece of you that is so committed to service of people and help that your first instinct is yes, but you know there's a voice in your head that's like, Ashlee, are you crazy? How are you going to tell your mom? What's she going to say? What do you? And you're like not listening, packing my stuff and getting into dry. What?
That's exactly what I did. He told me, I put my phone down. I ran upstairs to tell my mom and my stepdad, and after I told them my outrageous plan of what I was going to do, they kind of looked at me with blank stares and kind of trying to see if I was kidding, like if this was something real, and then they quickly understood that I was very serious about this this idea that I had. And I was essentially like, I was asking for their blessing. Like I was like,
not their permission.
Not that, well, I was, part of me was asking for their permission because they are my parents and I was living with them, and we had both made this collective decision together to pursue law school, and they have been my biggest cheerleaders every step of the way, and we'd invested so much already, like emotionally and cognitively about this decision, and picking up and leaving was something that not only would affect me but would affect them.
Yeah, so, throws a wrench in the giddy and the whole thing. Okay,
yeah,
so then you run out of their room.
Yeah, so then they said, we all decided that this was too good of an opportunity to pass up. I ran downstairs, I threw my clothes in the washing machine, and I packed a bag while the clothes were washing, and then as soon as they were done, I didn't even wait for the clothes to dry. I just took them out and I laid them in the back seat of the car to dry on the way up there, and I just left. My mom packed me a bunch of snacks for the road, and my stepdad gave me a bunch of his maps from his room that I could use along the way. And
like a paper map? Who uses that anymore?
Like a paper, they were both trying to grapple with my decision.
Being in the car. Exactly. You can't even unfold it.
Yeah. Each of them in their own ways was like showing me their love and like their support. And my mom was doing it by giving me food, and my stepdad was doing it by giving me maps. So
directions
I took
it
all, gratefully, and then off I went, and
Okay, so it takes you 13 hours to get to Oregon. Did you get lost on the way? Well, I would have been lost halfway at some point, made a wrong turn or something.
I luckily had a very easy drive up there. It wasn't a problem. I drove through the night. I left at about 6 p.m. I got the call at 5. I left at 6, and I arrived the next morning at about 7 a.m. And I had to leave that night.
Because the training started the next day.
Because it started at 8 a.m. So I got there like
oh my God.
Only an hour before we were going to start.
Had you napped? Did you pull over to nap in those 13 hours?
I tried to nap once in the middle, but I was just really, I had so much adrenaline pumping in me about like my decision and where I was going that I couldn't sleep. I just pushed through the whole way. And I'd also drank a bunch of energy drinks, and I just was, I was on a level. I was going, I was committed.
It's interesting because I can only imagine that from the books I've read and the movies I've seen, because while I've definitely had adrenaline rushes before, I've never had one that lasted 13 hours to go fight fires. And so this is something I totally don't understand. I am in such great awe of it, but like I get it, and I'm shaking my head like, oh, of course you were, but I don't get it. I've never done anything like that. So please carry on.
Neither had I either. I hadn't done anything like it either, and
you were so excited too.
I was just so excited, and I just felt like this was something I needed to do. It was something I couldn't explain. It just, I mean, part of me, I felt like this was a great opportunity to explore a potential, you know, other career path, or just an opportunity in general, some like a once in a lifetime, you know, pursuit. Why not do it? And another part of me was kind of thinking, you know, maybe law school isn't for me after all, and maybe this was a great, you know, excuse for me to find something else. But, you know, I wasn't really thinking I didn't have too.
I'm sure there wasn't a lot of time to
think
either. So you get there.
Yeah.
They hand you a cup of coffee and you go to school. What happens? Is that
exactly? That's literally exactly what happened. They gave me a cup of coffee. They had like brewed some in the place that we were in, and then and everything started. We studied for a couple days, and then we did
fire science. Is that what is that all in class and on paper?
It's like in classroom stuff, and then there's practical work outside where you go through.
So it's like beauty school. There's theory inside and then practical work.
Exactly.
I've done this.
Yeah. So it was a lot right away, but I was just so happy to be there. Honestly, like they could have. The classroom portion was long, but I didn't care. You know, I was just so happy to be in a new place with new people and pursuing this, you know, fun and exciting thing. I didn't even know what to make of it at the time. And I was just happy. You know, I just felt like a lot of, you know, emotion, and, you know, I just was in a weird place before I left, and I just needed something to just throw myself into.
At any point, because I want to get into the firefighting, but at any point when you're sitting in class, are you thinking, like when they show you that silver thing that you're supposed to jump into if you think you're going to become engulfed in flames, that thing that makes you look like a freaking baked potato, what is that thing called?
It's called a fire shelter.
Okay, so when they show you the fire shelter that you're supposed to get into just in case a fire rolls over you and we can't help you, do you think for a moment, I'm out of here? Or do you just never have that moment?
I definitely had those moments. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. But I was around a lot of like-minded people like myself. I was with my friend, my coworker, and a bunch of people who were training, doing the class with me, and we're gonna be new firefighters, as well as some of the veterans on the crew who were helping us. And I just felt very supported, and we all were in the same boat. You know what I mean? We were all scared and confused, and we were all a bunch of misfits that ended up one way or another in Oregon, like in this back house doing fire science class, like on this farm property, like way out in the boonies. Like we all were in the same boat, you know. And I just felt very like at home and comfortable, even though I was with completely like people I didn't know at all, besides my one friend, and completely in a new environment.
But your soul knew you were home.
Exactly.
So tell me about your first call compared to like your most crazy call.
So the first call that we went on was, luckily for me and the other newcomers, wasn't as crazy as some of the other fires that we were on. We got to kind of dip our toe in the water for the about the profession itself right away. We got to our fire where it was mostly out. It was pretty much mostly contained when we got there. We only spent 11 days at camp, and we were mostly just doing cleanup, which was like digging up hot spots, which is like heat that's trapped in the ground, and trying to release it so it doesn't, you know, set off any embers and relight anything.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly. So it was a lot of that kind of work. We didn't see any actual fire until our third fire.
Tell me about that day.
We got a call from another crew that was on the initial attack with us that had found a spot fire, which is when there is an area of fire that is outside of the containment line, where like an ember or
jumped
the containment line and was igniting somewhere else, like more fuel. So we went to go find them, and we were digging this line, which is called a hot line, which is where you are literally like within a foot away from the fire, and you're trying to dig with your hand tools on the ground to try to create like a smaller
bulldozed area
in the ground. Yes, exactly. But just with hand tools instead of a bulldozer now. So, and we did that for most of the night. Basically, we did that for probably like 6 or 7 hours just digging nonstop. And it wasn't necessarily scary, just because you just are really, really focused on what you're doing. You just have to be completely engaged in the
and you've
work.
got a whole crew of people depending on you.
Exactly.
And you're depending on them.
Yeah, it's a lot of chaos. Everyone's like screaming and yelling because the fire is really loud. When it burns, it like makes this like really roaring sound. So in order to communicate, you have to like yell to one another. And then there's chainsaws going at the same time because they have to like cut down all this brush that's hanging like up above you to dispose of some of the ladder fuel. So if the fire burns below you, it won't climb into the trees. So it was like this whole chaotic. It wasn't a mess. It was like an organized
chaos.
Organized chaos, you know.
Yeah.
And it was exhilarating. It was amazing. Like it wasn't scary at all. I mean, I don't really have that many thoughts when I'm in that moment. I really just try to think like how fast and how hard can I dig to get out of this area that's really, really hot, where I just want to get out of it. Because you're so close to the fire and you can barely breathe because it's burning up all the oxygen. So in order to like breathe, you have to take a step back and move your head away from the
oxygen sucking flame.
Side. Yeah. So.
And by the way, I don't want to go off on this because this is hugely important, but your physical abilities, because you have been a swimmer all of your life and an award-winning water poloist, you freaking swam from Alcatraz to San Francisco in less than 45 minutes. So it's not like you're just this little female who is capable, or who they threw out on the front lines.
Right.
You are a very tall woman. You're 5'11", right?
I am 5'11", yes.
And you're strong as any man. And by the way, may I just add, you mentioned that this is a seasonal thing and that people go home when it's not fire season anymore. I learned that because I called probably every firehouse in Oregon looking to find somebody that you had worked with. And
really?
Oh my God, I called them all. And they could not, and you know, I'm like, is this totally inappropriate that I'm just looking for like a feel good moment? And I know you're busy, but they couldn't have been nicer. And they kept giving me more numbers to sort of zero in on where you were and who you might have worked with. And finally I get to JO International Reforestry. Is that the right thing?
Yes, that's the crew that I worked with.
Okay, so there's a woman who's there, but the crew isn't there, but she's there. And she says to me finally, look, I did not work with Ashlee, but boy, have I heard beautiful things about Ashlee. And I said, well, can you tell me something? And she's like, what do you want to know? I said, whatever you heard. And she said, number one, I hear that she out-hustled all the men. And number two, that everybody that was in her presence said that she was the kindest, the most humble. It was like she was talking about an angel that she had heard about.
Oh, Carol. That's Mama Carol you're talking to.
Oh, is that who it was?
Yeah, that's my fire mama.
Okay, by the way, she answered the phone and probably said, hi, this is Carol. And then I went into your name and forgot who I spoke to and didn't think she'd be anybody because she just answered the phone.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she was the one who gave me the information. So
yes,
she said the nicest things about you, if that's who that was. And
that's so sweet.
And so the idea that like anybody might be listening to this thinking, well, you know, she dug and she carried and she climbed and she did because she's a badass. And apparently a bigger badass than many of the men on the team who couldn't believe that you could keep up the way you did.
Yeah, I think I definitely surprised a lot of people because, you know, I was working on a crew with 19 other men and men who had been working in the profession for longer than I had and maybe had never had a woman on their crew before.
Yeah, because that's new.
Yeah, so that was, I know some of them had worked with a female before, but they didn't know me. You know what I mean? I was not only a female, but I was also a newbie. You know what I mean? I had to prove myself and I had to show them that I could do the job because at the end of the day, everybody has really high standards for one another, rightfully so, because the job...
They're depending on you to save their life, God forbid,
exactly.
Drag them out of a fire if you have to.
Exactly. There's no room for error. There's little room for error. Everybody really has to be on their A game and has to be fit and has to be dialed in at all times. So I think that my experience as an athlete you mentioned, I think helped me rise to the occasion in that way because I not only had some of the physical training from before,
but the competitive nature
but
too.
Just the competitive nature. Exactly. I knew how to stay calm under pressure and how to just
prove yourself,
be focused. Exactly. Yeah. And just put my head down and work, you know, because I think that at the end of the day is what people respect is not how much you talk or what you say. It's really your actions over your words.
Do you think that they treated you, I'm sure in the beginning they questioned your ability, but once they figured out who you were and what you were made of, was there still any difference in the way they treated you because you were a woman?
You know, all the men that I worked with are some of the most kind and noble and most hardworking people I've encountered in my whole life. And they have such big hearts, and they really cared about the work that they did. And every single one of them supported me wholeheartedly from the beginning. Whether they had their doubts, they kept it to themselves, and they supported me, and they expected me to support them. And it was just nothing but a loving and encouraging environment from the start. And I felt so welcomed and so just at home. I didn't feel out of place whatsoever.
So included, not taken care of, and not treated like a little lady and all that stuff.
Exactly. And I think, sometimes naturally people can act, with the purest of intentions, can maybe say things in a way that shows, I don't know.
Their masculine side.
Their masculine side. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it was necessarily a difference between masculine and feminine energy. I think just naturally these men work in a male-dominated field. That's at the end of the day. Some of them are old dogs, and they've been doing this for a really long time. So I think even if they engaged in a way that had some like misogynistic undertones, they never meant it in a way to be hurtful or harmful or to put me down or make me feel like I was less than anyone else. And I never took it that way either.
Right.
I had, I think, selective hearing at times, but that wasn't, it wasn't a bad thing. I think just sometimes you have to just
put that aside.
Just take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really important thing for me to also focus on in the article that I wrote with the Hidden Hills magazine, because this story about me had gained a surprising amount of traction. I did not expect any of this going into it. And the two articles that were published beforehand were written by a journalist who I'd spoken with and then had written based on our conversation. But the Hidden Hills magazine was important because it was them asking me to write about my experiences. It was solely my words,
your interpretation,
that were going to be put out there. Exactly. So I wanted to take that opportunity really seriously. I really wanted to write that piece with an emphasis on the female perspective in this male-dominated industry, because it was a fresh perspective that I could bring.
Yeah.
And because we as women, we're so multifaceted. We have so many layers, and I truly believe that our complexity is our superpower, and it really puts us at the forefront of, in anything that we can do, and it can really help us shine. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, gender really doesn't matter at all. Like, it's just really a social construct anyways, but I still wanted to be conscientious of the nuances between the perspectives between me and the other men during this experience, because they were there and they were valid, and they just helped each one of us shine and become a stronger unit overall.
Yeah. Everybody brings something to the table, right? And
exactly.
And not to mention, I think the entire world is becoming more aware of the fact that the diversity in our nation needs to be represented in every single nuance of our people.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Right? The opportunities open up more, and not for women to be like men in that position, but to bring the diversity and the complexity that we offer. Yeah. And so what do you think you offered as a female that was different than what they were used to?
I don't know if I offered anything special as a female in particular, but I think just as myself, like just as Ashlee, with just my own experiences, I could just bring a fresh, I don't know, I was just me. I don't think I was that different from the other people. I think maybe, well, actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, I think maybe I'm not going to front. Like, I don't have the same strength as a 6'4" man like on my fire crew. Like I'm a 5'10" female, and yes, I may be tall for my age and for my gender, but I don't have the same physical capabilities.
You're not 6'4" and 250.
Exactly. I'm not, and I'm never going to be. So,
right.
But me and that 6'4", 200 something pound man was asked to do the same job and the same work. And so sometimes I had to just be a little bit more creative and more thoughtful about how to tackle this particular task in my own way, in a way that I could, and just think outside of just sheer muscle and brute force, and maybe with my brain a little bit more. But that's not to say that the other men didn't use their brain. It was because that's not true. Like it was a very thoughtful experience. We all had to be very fully engaged in anything we did. And I think, I mean, you know, what I maybe lacked in physical capabilities in comparison to the other men, I made up for in just sheer hard work, like just sheer grinding, like just putting my head down and doing what I was told. And I think everybody noticed that and appreciated that. And they knew that I was just giving it everything I could at any moment. And they knew that I was there to do the work, you know? And that's at the end of the day what anyone asked for. And
it is, but but the difference between a woman like you and a woman like me, let's just say, I get out there and I'm going to do the work. I'm going to work hard, but I am not I'm not Ashlee. And so I don't have any of the background you have. I don't have it. So I would imagine that with me, it would be like, oh, it's cute. She's got a little shovel. And I don't think I would be able to present as somebody. I mean, you know, you pass out in some place, I'm gonna be right there and figure out what's going on and see if I can help you. I'm not afraid of that kind of thing. But the hard work that you say that you know, just because you're a female didn't do any less than, I don't know that I know that I could not have done that and made them all think, like, it's one thing to be a woman where they're like, yeah, she's cute, she's doing the work, she's really got her head down and she's focused, but you got the work done. It wasn't like they had to come and finish the job after you did it. You were doing as well as they were. And based on, by the way, Mama Carol, apparently you were. And it sounds like other people there, part of your crew, let you know that they were impressed with your ability to do that job. It sounds like. Did they? What did they say to you?
Oh yeah, they definitely acknowledged, you know, the work that I put forth, and I definitely felt noticed and appreciated, which was really nice. But, you know, I didn't go there to be praised and like to have my hand held. You know, I just.
You went there to help.
Yeah, I went there to help. And, you know, Nikki, I think you're more capable than you put yourself out to be. I think you could clearly do it. And I'm not the first female wildland firefighter out there. You know, I mean, I was the only female on my crew, but I was certainly not the first, you know, female out there on the line. And I'm not going to be the last. And I mean, I think that becoming a firefighter is such a noble profession, and something that no woman, regardless of their physical capability, should ever be afraid to not try to pursue. Yes, the physical requirements are there, and yes, that they're very real, but it's all possible. It's all doable. You know, with the right amount of training and mindset, you can really do what you put your mind to. I'm like a firm believer in the idea that, and the belief that whether you can do something or you can't, you were right. You know, whatever you believe will come true. And
it's your reality, sure.
Yeah. And I actually did look into the profession of structure firefighting during my undergrad. I went to a career expo about it, and I was learning about joining LA Fire Department and just what it would take. And, you know, I was talking to other females who were not, you know, females who were firefighters at the time, and asking them how did they do it, and they just said to just remember that it's a marathon, not a sprint. If you want to get there and you want to put in the work, you can do it. And firefighting is different than like law enforcement work, and like the Army, because there are physical requirements for men and women, but they vary. They're scaled for women, like if you want to become a cop or if you're in the military or the Navy. But for firefighting, that's not the case. Men and women are held to the same standard of physical requirements. So it can be a big deterrent for a lot of women. And I, at the time, couldn't meet those physical requirements. Like, even though I was a college athlete and I was training 20 plus hours a week, I couldn't do the physical requirements I had to do as a female trying to enter the fire career. So that's another thing is, for a female that wants to do this, there's ways to get into the system and just train and work your butt off and
work your way up.
Maybe go to Oregon and work as a wildland firefighter first and gain the experience and really come to understand and figure out if this is truly for you. Because I think a lot of people really don't know if it's right for them until they're in it, after all the time and dedication, all the work. They don't know until they're there. And it's very valid and it's true. And I think so
you're not thinking about doing it as a profession anymore?
I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm in a place right now where I'm just figuring things out. I'm trying to just be myself and do some soul searching and taking opportunities as they come. And I'm just trying to be very present right now and just expecting nothing and appreciating everything and just trying to be brave. And I don't know what I'm doing right now. So I don't know, but I'll get back to you.
That's okay. I would like you to get back to me. And here's the thing. If 2020 has taught us anything, you can plan for a whole lot of stuff, but you really don't have control over anything. And so being in the moment, and especially at your age, to be so aware of so many moments, Ashlee, you and I were talking the other day, and I meant this when I said that everything I might have stalked you on Facebook and Instagram, and and looked at your school paper stories about you and the United Nations things that you've done, I know a lot about you now.
Okay.
And this was, and you had sorry, and you and I had this conversation before I knew all of this, and you have a real connection with the idea that, like what you said, what you think is what it is. You decide whether it's a success or a failure, and you have had a number of successes in this life. You and Brave, it's like your middle name, if it's not your first name, and I think you're the kind of person, like I said before, who changes the world. Because if you want to make a difference in the world, but you're not sure you can, well, then you won't. But if you're somebody like you, if you're Ashlee Sellung, did I say that right?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Then Ashlee Sellung says, I'm going to do this. When you make a decision to do something, you kill it. And I am envious. I am, in all good ways, not jealous, envious. I mean, gosh, I wish I could take a piece of you and split it between every woman, every man I've ever met. I think it's unbelievable. I mean, this has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, but I read a story about you doing the triathlon.
Okay, yes.
I want to know more about that. But also, the story that I read in the paper or wherever I read it seemed to say that you signed up 5 days before and jumped in, and then is that really what happened? Had you not trained for this?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so I don't want to blow it, but Ashlee decides I'll do a triathlon, signs up 5 days before, comes in third in your age group. Is that right?
Yes.
And you were the 18th woman to cross the finish line.
That's true, yes.
I mean, you keep saying that I probably could do more than I'm capable of, and I keep telling you all the things I'm not capable of. Here's the deal. I know what I'm good at. I'd have stopped for lunch, and I don't think I would have finished. But woman, tell me, and then you raised money, so tell me more.
I mean, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much. That was all really
nice. For stalking you?
For just saying such nice things. I feel really emotional right now. Wow, that was such nice things.
You're beautiful.
Thank you.
You are your essence. I'm not even talking about how your beautiful red hair and what you look like and all. I'm just saying the essence of what you present and how you express yourself and the things you do. I am in total awe.
I thank you. And I just want to say that the the way that I am now, I was not this way before. This has taken a lot of work, and it's taken me a long time to get here, and it's taken a lot of really intentional work, and a lot of, my past has shaped who I am now. And we touched on it a little bit before, and I really try hard to be my most authentic and truest self, and just not take anything for granted in life. And that belief that I hold so true is largely shaped because I lost my dad when I was younger. I lost him when I was 16 years old. Unexpectedly, he was sick, but nobody expected him to die. And he was my best friend when I was growing up. I felt so connected to him when I was younger. Everything that I am now, I am the product of him. Like I am so his daughter, and if he was alive today, we would practically be twins. And he was the one person that I felt so connected to growing up. Because I felt like an outsider in my community. I told you a little bit about that already. Like, I didn't really feel like I fit in with my community and my school, and I couldn't find my place, and I was confused. And the one person that I felt connected to was my dad, and then he was gone when I was 16, unexpectedly. And there's so much that, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. This is beautiful.
There's so much that I never got to say to him or tell him, or, there's so many experiences that I never got to have, and I'm never going to have. And learning that at a young age showed me how truly precious and fragile life is. Like, you just cannot waste any opportunity that comes your way. It's too short to not tell the people around them that you love them, and it's too short to not move to Oregon on a whim and live with a bunch of boys in a refurbished horse stable and work as a wildland firefighter with 20 strangers. Like, life is too short to not do that. And learning that when I was younger, actually, I didn't learn that when I was younger. I experienced the pain when I was younger, but I only learned that recently. I really only came to terms with all that pain not too long ago. And a lot of that was in part to do with my experience in Oregon, because a lot of time we spent in the forest, out in the middle of nowhere, completely disconnected from society, and it just leaves you with your thoughts and forces you to deal with everything you've
pushed down
and avoided for so long. And
it lit a flame in you.
Yeah, it just really forced me to confront with a lot of my issues and my identity and my true passions in life. And it really helped me put into words and further understand like how I got to the place that I am, and just the meaning of everything. And I really don't know anything. Like, I'm trying my best to understand and be as present as possible, but I mean, I'm just really figuring out as I go. And I think this year especially, we can all agree that life is fragile, and our sense of normalcy is so fragile. Like, everything that we can hold to be true and right in this world about how we go to school and how we date and how we have holidays with our families can just be taken away at a moment's notice, and forces us to adapt and find a new normal. And it just shows us that everything is just so fragile, and we just need to be present. And I don't know. I mean, talking to you right now this is probably the best time we could have talked, because I am really, really deep in my introspective journey right now. Like, I don't know if you could tell or not, but
Of course I can.
I'm really in the raw thick of it, like
Yeah.
learning, just really in this mess of myself. And I mean,
it's a beautiful mess, Ashlee. It's a beautiful mess.
It's something. I don't know.
It's a beautiful mess. And you know what? Like, you're talking about how, if anything in this year, we've learned that everything that you take for granted can be swept away.
Yeah.
Toilet paper.
Right, exactly. Yeah, toilet paper.
So the idea that, like, you have at 22 years old realized that this too is an opportunity. You know, this is an opportunity to take a look. I mean, when in the middle of your forest, and then you come back and you're still looking within to figure it out. But, like, if you don't roll with it and figure out how to make the best of wherever you are all the time, then what's life about? Because no matter, it may not be pandemic year, freaking the weirdest year I've ever been around for hundreds of years, you know, whatever. But still, every day you get thrown a curveball, right? And so it's really the people who change the world, like you're going to do, who make a mark on this earth, who roll with it, and who think outside the box and look deeper for the solution to get through moment to moment to moment. And I would guess that if you had not lost your father at 16, and if you had not suffered the pain, because we all know that growth comes from that. The easy stuff is never where you learn and grow. You know, if somebody gives you fish, you don't know how to fish. If you have to learn how to fish, well, then you learn how to fish, and then you can feed yourself. So maybe if your father hadn't passed away unexpectedly at 16, maybe you wouldn't be half the human you've turned into. And maybe you still owe it all to him. And maybe he's guided you. And, you know, I have my own feelings with both parents being gone, that they help, they see, they miss nothing. And I hope I'm right, because I would guess that your father would just be so incredibly proud, my love. And I'm sure, I can't imagine that it just ends, and that with everything you're feeling and every inspiration you still get because of him, that he's unaware. I mean, I guess some people think that's crazy, but I really don't. And the way you think and the way you breathe and the way you present, you're so deep and you're so introspective. And most 22-year-olds aren't like that because they haven't struggled and been honest with their struggle. And your struggle led you to save people, stand up for things that other people were afraid to stand up for. You know, you jump in and you say, I am part of that community. See me, hear me. That's beautiful, honey. And your dad's proud.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. I think you are a beautiful human, and I hope in my next life I can come back and be you, Ashlee.
I want to be you, Nikki. You have just a way with words, and you're so articulate, and I wish I could take like a part of your brain and like mush it into mine, and I could have this like one big, beautiful, powerfully empathetic and compassionate brain. And
you know, I appreciate that, but it all comes, I'm just being moved by you. You know, I am a curious human. I'm incredibly curious, and I love to hear people talk about how they feel, and I love to see the emotions on their face, and I love to connect. And you and I connected so deeply. I literally, like, I feel like I've turned into one of your aunts. You know what I mean? Like, I love you. I totally love you. And
I love you too.
We've had 2 conversations, and I hope they never end. I hope this continues, and that I am your friend. I adore you. I think you're a wonderful human being, and I think that you will inspire so many people. I want to close with, if a little girl came to you and said, my mommy told me you fought in fires. I want to be a firefighter one day. What would you say to her?
Everything starts with courage. Everything starts with being brave. You can't do anything in life without first putting yourself out there, being brave, being vulnerable. being uncertain about the outcome. Nothing ever good in life or anything worth having doesn't first come from an act of courage, a complete bravery. And I think if a little girl came to me and told me that she wants to become a firefighter, but she's scared, I would say, follow your passion. Like, 'cause life is just too short. We just gotta follow our dreams and follow our heart. And it might sound cliche and cheesy, but I think, everything is just so fragile, and we just don't have enough time left on this world to not be our true self, not follow our true passions and where our heart lies, and, follow a road that is about pleasing others or making our parents happy or making us seem successful by society's standards. If it's going to sacrifice our own happiness, I think we truly just need to follow our heart and just what we need to do. It's sounds simple, yet it's so hard for people to do. It's so hard for me to do. I think that's what I would say. This reminded me, I went to a conference when I was in my undergrad in my senior year, and there was a speaker that we had who was giving a speech during the closing ceremony of the conference, and he quoted Maya Angelou, and he said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of, courage is the most important virtue because it empowers all others. And hearing him say that from that moment, it's just really stuck with me. And I just feel like I keep that in the back of my mind, as well as like my dad, and just, I don't know. I feel like everything I do is really powered by this commitment to live my truest and most authentic self, and to just not take things for granted, because you really can't waste your life trying to please others if it's going to sacrifice your own happiness in the making, and it's not going to put you down the path to your best self. And this whole time being in Oregon and being in the forest and being here with you, confronting all these issues and really just raw emotion that I haven't dealt with so long, and being in this mess and confusion, is something I've really tried recently to just welcome wholeheartedly, this like fear and uncertainty, because I know that on the other side of all of this is going to be my truest and most authentic self. And I'm so excited to get to that place and to meet her and to be her and to continue just growing and learning in that place. And I could have never done it without first being brave in that moment and taking that leap to drop everything that I was doing, every plan, every commitment that I had made for the next
because you had worked for
3 months,
years.
Everything that I had worked for, to just take a crazy chance and pursue a wild opportunity with someone I had only known for 3 weeks.
And be brave.
And be brave.
Bravery it is, my love. I am in awe, and I love the crazy mess that you are, and I look forward to meeting the woman on the other side with a little more clarity before you run into a messy place where you grow again, because that's what this life is about. Don't go anywhere, because I'm not done with you, but I think It's time for us to have more of a private conversation, and I am so grateful for you sharing your broken self, your healed self, and all of it. Just a beautiful, beautiful soul you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nikki.
You're so welcome.
I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Just being so loving and caring to me along the way. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Going to be here forever. I am crazy about you. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
I'm going to turn this off. Don't go anywhere.